In previous rebuilds, I've taken teams from non-league to the Premier League. I've taken bankrupt German giants to the top of European football, but I genuinely think this might be the hardest rebuild I've ever done in Football Manager. And for this rebuild, we're heading over to France, where the league has of course been dominated by Moneybags PSG over the last decade or so. And if you've played Football Manager in recent years, you'll know that PSG, whilst they already are a good team, they end up buying all of the world's best players, all of the world's best wonder kids, and only really the big European superpowers are able to compete with them. But there is another team in Paris, and that is Paris FC, the club that we'll be managing today in the second division of the French footballing leagues, with terrible facilities. And if we're talking about the finances we've got to try and compete with PSG, well, there's £0 in a transfer budget and £0 in the wage budget. So I think this is going to be a pretty big challenge. Normally I end my rebuilds after 5 seasons and see how well we've done with the club, but today we are not stopping until we beat PSG. It's going to be tough and it might take a while, so we might speed through this video a little bit quicker than normal, but hopefully you will stick with me. We've got key players to help us along the way, like Vincent Marchetti, who is a 26-year-old midfielder considered the best player in our team. And our best striker is supposedly this man, Pierre-Yves Hamel, but that isn't saying much because outside of him, there is not much quality in the squad. Thankfully though, we're not predicted relegation in the second tier. In fact, we're predicted to be mid-table, a 10th place finish with 25-1 odds of winning the title, with some very good teams in the second division. So realistically, I will take a mid-table finish to start off with, and then we'll try and build up from there when we have hopefully a bit more money to spend. Before we do get started though with the rebuild, if you do go on to enjoy the video, or you just want to give me a big boost before we start, then please go ahead and click that like button. It helps massively here on YouTube in terms of pushing these videos out to as many people as possible, and comment down below what rebuild you want to see next. Every rebuild we do is based on your suggestions. Also, if you're yet to subscribe, I'd massively appreciate it if you could hit that button. That way you won't miss out on the weekly rebuilds that we do here on the channel. And the final thing is, if you want to continue this save yourself, however long it may be, then you can get access to the save files on my Patreon, which you can find linked in the description. Over there you can support me as a creator. In return, you'll get the save files for every single season, so you can give this a go and see if you can do a better job than I do. Now, I have actually been able to do some business because our first choice goalkeeper had a year left on his deal and said he was going to leave for free, so I thought let's try and sell him, get some cash and reinvest it. So we got £700,000 from him from Strasbourg in the top division of France, which we can now reinvest in our squad. And we replaced him with a 36-year-old goalkeeper, hoping to be a stopgap for the season. It's Kiko Casilla, the former Spanish international, played for Leeds, Real Madrid. Now though, he was a 36-year-old free agent and he's coming in to be our goalkeeper for no cost at all. And I've also loaned in a player from a pretty elite French club in the form of Lens. This is Ibrahima Balde, who's a 20-year-old French forward, good player with a lot of potential, who I think for this kind of level should do the job for us. And I'm going to try and keep it basic with a simple 4-3-3 gegenpress. I would show you all the players in this team, but you don't really need to know them. In a few years, I imagine most of them will be gone. You've met the key players, Marchetti, Casilla, and the only other player considered at their level is this guy whose name I'm not going to try and pronounce at all, but he's a 31-year-old French centre-back. And with that being said, we're ready to go for season 1. Fingers crossed we can get off to a good start to our rebuild. Now, the first step to toppling PSG in Ligue 1 is of course getting to the top division, and I thought that might take a few years, but we got off to an absolute flyer, winning game after game, match after match, racking up the points and taking us near the top end of the table. And even though we were only predicted mid-table, we actually ended up with a chance to get promoted in our final game of the season if we beat Bastia, and we got off to an early start with a brilliant free kick. Then in the 44th minute, we went forward on the left-hand side. Balde, our loanee, found his way in behind and scored a delicate chip over the keeper to make it 2-0. And then we had a penalty in the 66th to make it 3-0, and that gave us guaranteed promotion to the top division in year 1. But not only that, we actually beat Saint Etienne to the title with better goal difference than them and 3 points more. We lost 6 games, drew 9, but clearly that didn't matter too much because 78 points was enough for us to win the league, and that means we're going straight up to the first division. Now we want to not get relegated, become a regular in Ligue 1, and then push for European football and try and use the funds there to buy wonder kids to develop into top talents, because realistically we're not going to be able to compete with PSG financially. And if that wasn't apparent enough already, in our historic season in Ligue 1, we were given a grand total of £3 million to try and compete with a top club. But after a bit of wheeling and dealing, we managed to pull in a few players. Alpha Sissoko was the first incoming, a versatile fullback. Another free signing was the 34-year-old Christopher Schindler. The German has previously played for Huddersfield. Former French international Clement Grenier also joined us on a free at the age of 33. And we kept bringing in the old players on free transfers. Liam Cooper at the age of 32 joining us after his contract expired with Leeds. I actually think this is probably one of our best signings. Another free transfer, the South African fullback Mosa Labusa joined the club. We spent about £100,000 on the signing of Mido, a Senegalese 32-year-old defensive midfielder joining us from the Norwegian divisions. But the two big signings were João Rego, a wonder kid extraordinaire joining us from Benfica, where they clearly didn't think much of him and sold him to us for £850,000. And Giovanni Bolivar was our record signing for £1.8 million from the Spanish divisions. The Venezuelan forward is hopefully going to bag the goals for us. And the majority of our squad from last season have had their contract expire, so we're kind of looking at near enough a brand new 11 here with our Paris FC team. And you'll see our best goalkeeper is Nathaniel Nowusu, who was someone that our sporting director picked up on a free from Water FC, expected to just play a part in the second division, but we're going to give him a go in the net now that Kiki Casilla has left the club. But despite all of our hard work in the transfer market, we are predicted a finish of 18th place. 700 to 1 odds of winning the league, and the closest team to us are Metz, who have 450 to 1 odds of winning the league, showing you just how far away we are from even their level. So this is definitely going to be a tough challenge, and we'll be crossing our fingers that we can stay up this year. But it turned out we didn't need to cross our fingers after all. Both us and FC Metz have managed to finish in mid-table positions. We finished 13th with 38 points, which you would assume, with 20 losses, would be enough to get us relegated. But there's 3 teams far worse than us this year. Saint Etienne and Clermont going straight back down. They didn't even reach the 25-point mark, so we can definitely class this as a big success. And you can see we actually had a pretty good year. Obviously, we lost a lot of games, but we did win some pretty huge matches for us, like beating Lyon very early in the season to give us a confidence boost. There was also a 3-2 win against Lyon where we only had 10 players on the pitch. And our best result of the season actually came against them yet again, where towards the end of the year, we stuffed them 6-2. Our new signing, Bolivar, managed to bag a hat-trick, and his goals really helped us this year, but it was this goal from Marchetti that was the pick of the bunch, a stunning strike from the edge of the area. So in our second season, we've managed to keep Paris FC up on a shoestring budget in the French first tier, and we have been given a grand total of £4 million to spend to try and stay up again next season and start pushing up the table. We did manage to raise some funds with some sales. Lamine Guy has left us to join the Belgian side Sint-Truiden for 950k. And promising young centre-back Johan Corre wanted to leave to go to Nimes in the national division. No idea why he wanted to do that, but he has done for £1.3 million, potentially rising to 1.6. And now that we managed to stay up for 1 year in Ligue 1, we were managing to attract a little bit better quality of player to the club. Firstly, former Chelsea player Thomas Callas, who has done a tour of the English divisions, has joined us after his time at Schalke on a free contract where hopefully the Czech defender is going to be a rock at the back. We're also adding Millwall star Zian Fleming to the team. The 26-year-old was let go from the Championship side after 2 phenomenal seasons in attacking midfield for them, and hopefully he can replicate that in a Paris FC shirt. Adamounas is no stranger to the French divisions. The Algerian 28-year-old has joined us on a free transfer from Lille after a season out on loan with Udinese, and he looks like a very talented player on the right. We've also added Alexander Pikalaniok, the Ukrainian 28-year-old international, valued at £7 million. He's one of our most valuable players in the team. He's coming in from Dnipro on a free transfer. Also joining the midfield on a free transfer was Abdoulaye Doucouré, formerly of Everton. And English goalkeeper Etienne Green is joining us between the sticks. A 25-year-old cost us £1 million or so, joining from Saint Etienne. And with those players coming in alongside some of our stars from last season, we've really managed to assemble a pretty decent squad here, and we have changed the tactic a little bit to try and favour the more attacking players that we do have. Just to let you know, João Rego is slowly blossoming into a star, and Giovanni Bolivar last season was the one that really kept us up with his 12 goals in Ligue 1, managing to really help us out. Whether we can stay up another year is a real question. We could definitely have a case of second season syndrome. We are still heavily predicted favourites to go down in 18th place, so once again, we're going to have to try and prove the doubters wrong if we want to stay up this year. And we managed to do exactly that, finishing in 9th place after a phenomenal season, 46 points. We got battered by PSG 5-0 and 5-2 home and away, but that did not bother us because once again, we have secured safety in Ligue 1, and that means we've got another year to keep trying to build to push on to eventually challenge PSG. And if you're interested, whilst we've been wheeling and dealing to bring in Thomas Callas on a free transfer, PSG have gone out and spent £100 million on Gabriel Jesus, and they've got plenty of other great players now. But what I'm trying to say is, whilst we're here trying to work around on £3-4 million budgets, they're splashing £100 million on a striker that scored them 16 goals. But we do have some money to work with now. Clearly the board are starting to back us. We've been given £7 million and £15,000 worth of wage budget to reinvest in the team. And the players that really helped us this year were the majority of our new signings. Fleming, Pikalaniok, Unas, Decore, Callas, all having great performances across the year to keep us in the top division, but now it's time to spend more money, try and keep up with PSG. Hopefully we can start to close that gap, else this might be a very long rebuild. And once again, we exploited the free transfer market, bringing in 25-year-old midfielder Alexis Becker from Nice, a former wonder kid Yari Vereshcheren of the Belgian divisions coming in from Anderlecht is probably the star signing of the window for us. We've also improved the midfield with Thomas Hendel joining us from the Portuguese divisions. Liam Cooper came in from a free from Leeds but has now gone to Hull, so we needed a new centre-back. In his place, we've signed Dara Lenihan, who's joined us from Middlesbrough, where he's been phenomenal for 3 seasons in the Championship. Also coming in was Angolan defender Kielon de Gaspar, former AC Milan and Wolfsburg player Ricardo Rodriguez, and Spaniard Alvaro Rodriguez, who's going to be playing in that right-back slot. Not many of those new signings do make it into our best 11, but it definitely improves some of the squad depth that we do have at the club, so things are looking much better in terms of the long-range performance of our team in the league, and that has been proved by our season preview, which has now jumped to 13th place, 250 to 1 odds of winning the title. It's still a 250 to 1 shot of beating PSG, but at least we're making our way there and we're slowly progressing up this table, and who knows, maybe we'll get European football this year. Or maybe not quite, because we finished in 11th place. I think that's a slight decline from where we were last season, but at least it's stability. At least we are slowly moving forward. PSG have absolutely smashed the league yet again, only losing twice, and we lost to them 7-0 and 5-0 this season. So really, closing that gap is going to be very hard. It's a good job I didn't put a 5-year limit on this rebuild. Season 4 though, if you'd offered me a mid-table finish 4 years in Ligue 1, I'd say that would be about where I'd want to be. I feel like in the French divisions, outside of PSG and of course those top few teams, there's a lot of mediocre teams in this middle where you could kind of finish anywhere, everyone from Metz to Nantes to Troyes to Lorient. Sometimes they can have good seasons and fly up, and sometimes they'll drop down, as Metz have done here, nearly getting relegated. So I feel like we're doing exactly what we'd expect to do at this point, but we are staying in Ligue 1. We've got £4 million to spend next year, 20 grand in the wage budget, but we have got a few players now that are wanting to leave. João Rego being our best player, but also the one that wants to move the most. He's not willing to extend his contract, which runs out in 2 years. He's refusing because he wants to move to a stronger squad and do better, and you kind of have to look at him and say he probably is a little bit too good for us at this point, so maybe we're going to have to lose him pretty soon. But Versetcheren has done very well in his first year, getting 10 goals. Unas also with 10, Ducore with 8. A very good all-round team performance. Once again, the facilities have continued to improve at the club, and the reputation of our team is slowly growing to the point where hopefully we're going to be able to attract some better players. So let's see what we can do in the Season 5 transfer window to bolster our squad for the coming season. Before we see those transfers though, this is the last time I'll ask you, but if you could do me a massive favour, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't done those 2 things already. I'd be very, very thankful. But let's see who we bought in, or maybe more importantly, who we sold, because we did actually actually move on a few players in this window. Alexis Becker being the first, going to Antwerp, spent a year with us, didn't really play, and we got 1.7 mil for him. Josias Lukambilla is a player that's been with us, I think, since we were in the second division, yeah, and he's been consistently doing well for us up until the most recent season where he wasn't so great. His time was up at the club, so he's moved to Udinese. Giovanni Bolivar has also left the club to the Portuguese divisions, a 25-year-old forward, scored well in his first year but hasn't done as well since, so we tried to get as much money for him as we could before his contract expired. And there was a long list of incomings this season that are hopefully going to really bolster our ambitions of getting into Europe. Firstly, Gambian right back Janko has joined us for free. Han Noah Masengo has also joined us, a 26-year-old French midfielder who's played for Bristol City, Burnley, but has been in the French divisions before, and now he returns there on a free transfer. Fulham striker who's on a hot streak in real life for them currently, Rodrigo Muniz, has joined us on a free too. The Brazilian is hopefully going to add a bit of depth in that forward position. John Pacho is a 26-year-old left-footed ball-playing centre-back who really does elevate our backline. And Ricardo Calafiori is an option at both left-back and centre-back, much better than what we had in those positions before. He's also joined for free. Our final free signing was former Real Madrid player Takuhiro Nakai, who has joined us from Chelsea. He was let go by Real Madrid, picked up by Chelsea. We've then signed him on a free deal, and I think he's going to be a nice little addition to our midfield areas. We've also spent £350,000 on a Barcelona player, Angel Alarcon, whose profile picture maybe doesn't really flatter him too much here, but the 23-year-old looks like he could be an absolute bargain for the talent that he has, and fingers crossed it will work out for him here. And our final signing is our new star striker, Ecuadorian 27-year-old Leonardo Campana, who has joined us from Rennes, where he joined and never really did too much, but when he has been in the MLS, he scored a lot of goals for Inter Miami, and I'm crossing my fingers he'll score goals for us too. He's got great attributes and definitely comes in as our best striker, and if we now have a look at that best 11, it's starting to come along very well now. There's lots of good players on the bench, as mentioned before. Jaurego did manage to stick it out for the season. He's still going to be here next year, but again, hasn't extended his contract. No one wanted to buy him this year, so that's going to be an interesting one. Zian Fleming is also one of our best players still. We've got Unas, Masenjo, Calafiori's in there, some great players, a great team, and I haven't seen it yet, but I'm hoping our season preview has gone up a little bit, and we're about where we were before, 13th place or so, 400 to 1 title odds of winning the league. I think it was 250 to 1 before, so that's actually gone down by quite a lot. This is going to be very tough to actually overthrow PSG. We could be here for a long time. They've got a great squad, still managed by Luis Enrique, and you can see why, because he's delivering them trophy after trophy. We're not going to be able to top them anytime soon, so we need to keep building, but let's see what we can do in our 5th season now as Paris FC boss. And it was our best season yet. We were winning more games than we had before, and with a few games to go in the league, we actually had a chance to qualify for 7th place Europa Conference League football, but to do that, we had to beat Metz. Now, credit to them, because they were also one of the teams predicted to go down when we first got promoted, and they're still kicking in Ligue 1, but we did put them to the sword here, with Nakai getting a goal in the 50th minute, and then in the 60th minute, we added a second. Some good play on the edge of the box, found Sissoko in the right back spot. He played the ball through, and Alarcon, our new signing, put it into the back of the net. So we needed a former Real Madrid and a former Barcelona player to get us over the line, but it was enough to get us into 7th place, 53 points, 2 points more than Monaco, and qualify for European football. Not too far behind Lyon and Marseille as well, so a much better year. PSG, though, going unbeaten, show that even when we're making progress, so are they. And the board reward us with that brilliant European finish with £2 million to spend and £20,000 a wage budget. It's near enough impossible to compete with PSG anyway, let alone with this kind of money. Especially when we might have to lose Jaurego this summer. Again, his contract hasn't been extended because he just isn't willing to. He wants to move to a club with a stronger squad, so any interest that we get for him, we're just going to have to let him go. We did get 20 goals out of new signing Campana though, who has looked like a real bargain for that kind of money, but now we need to make a squad that's capable of competing in Ligue 1 and also on a European front, which is not going to be easy with only £2 million, but we'll see what we can do. And it was a very big window with some major losses to the team, Zian Fleming being the first, didn't start as many games as he wanted last year. He's now moved to Saudi Arabian tie Altai for 12.75 million. Adam Unas has moved on for £900,000 to Utrecht out in the Eredivisie. And we did eventually lose João Rego. The man valued at about £40 million left us for a measly sum of £6 million. Him and Zian Fleming were our record-breaking transfers. It was £20 million made in sales, and even though it was very sad to lose two key players, we're going to reinvest that in the team and hopefully make a much better squad as opposed to having some star individuals. In came Arsenal defender Ruel Walters, who's left them on a free transfer, did actually play a few times for them, a very promising player, English 23-year-old, adds some depth at both right back and centre back. He's probably going to be covering for our new star centre back, who is a 20-year-old Portuguese new gen by the name of Andre Neves. He's a brilliant ball player with 16 passing and 15 technique, physically very good as well. At the age of 20, he's got a lot of upside and could grow into a top-level defender. Abakar Silla has also joined us, let go by Strasbourg in the French divisions, and now he is going to be playing for Paris FC as a rotation option at centre-back. Rodrigo Riquelme has also joined us. He was let go by his side Marseille. He was signed for a pretty big fee from Atletico Madrid. Didn't do too well out in Marseille, to be honest with you, but he's someone that we're bringing in to add depth all along that front line. And it's the same for Steffi Mavididi, doing very well for Leicester in the Championship in real life. In this FM world, he did pretty well for Leicester too. Firstly in the Championship, then translated that into Premier League performances. Played all 38 matches in the league for Leicester last year, but they have let him go. We've signed him, and he is our new left-sided player to replace what Rego was giving us on that inside forward position. But our biggest signing yet is Van Tior, who is a Brazilian 20-year-old that we have spent a record-breaking £7.5 million on from Cortiba. Pacey with great acceleration and agility, a fantastic dribbler, finisher, crosser. He has got the lot, and he's only 20, so he's going to get way better than what we've got here. And we have now added a lot more star quality to the team whilst improving the depth, and I think that's exactly what we needed to do in this window. And if the job we were doing at Paris FC wasn't already impressive enough, we're doing it at a transfer net profit as well. This year we've made more money in sales as we did last year, the year before that, and the year before that. There was only one season where we spent more money than we made in sales, so we're doing a very good job to do that whilst building a very strong team. And if we now have a look at our best 11, it includes players like Mavididi, Campana, Riquelme, Calafiori, Raul Walters, Etienne Green, with some great talent on the bench as well, the likes of Nakai, Verscheren as well, not even getting in to our best 11. So we're definitely working our way up in terms of squad quality. Now the board want us to finish mid-table, so clearly they think we're doing a good job here, and the season preview has us in 13th place. If we can keep pushing, we can eventually challenge PSG, but it's a few years away yet, so let's see what we can do in our 5th season. Now, so far in this rebuild, we haven't managed to get any kind of look over PSG, getting smashed every time. We got beat away 5-0 this season, and it looked like it was going to be the case again at home, where after 2 minutes, Ousmane Dembele smashed the ball into the back of the net, and it looked like it was going to be another long day against our rivals. But in the 10th minute, we went forward through Raul Walters at right back. He managed to play a cross across to Masengo, who hit a brilliant outside of foot shot. That beat Donnarumma, and we actually managed to hold out for a point against PSG. It was 1-1, and now they're threatened. They know we're coming for them. Or maybe not, because in the league we only finished in 9th place this year, 2 places below where we were before, less points acquired, 48 points and a -1 goal difference, but we did have an excuse. We were playing in Europe for the first time, and we managed to make it all the way to the semi-finals where Genk knocked us out, who eventually went on to lose in the final to Brighton. Now we only got knocked out in penalties, and along the way we took out teams like Hibs. In the round of 16 we also knocked out Levski Sofia, so we definitely gave a good account for ourselves, winning 4 matches in our first European tour. So that's something that we can definitely be proud of. As you can see, facilities are getting better and better at the club. Financially, we have £10 million in the balance. We're still only being given £3 million to spend though, even with that European run. But going into next season, we've got a much better squad than before, and also we're no longer going to be playing in Europe, so we can really focus in on the league. But with this £3 million, we want to try and make our team better. But to do that, I needed to raise cash cash, so we started off with a flash sale. Rodrigo Muniz left for about 500k. Alexander Pikolaniuk decided to take the opportunity to go back to Ukraine. He wanted to move, so he went to Shakhtar Donetsk for about 2 million quid. Kielonda Gaspar, the Angolian defender, served as well, but he's gone to Hoffenheim again for a few £1,000,000. John Pacheco did well for us, but has decided to trade Paris FC for a different French side, moving to Troyes for just over 3 mil. Steffi Mavididi wanted to go back to England after a year here, so he's gone to Sheffield United, 5.75 million, a good season for us, and we'll take the profit. And our big sale was Nakai, who has left to join Saudi Arabian side Al Hazem for 15.75 million, rising to 20.5, and that meant we raised 30 million, and that was the most money we'd ever made from sales, so that meant we could spend. And for the first time, I feel like we've actually got a squad capable, realistically, of getting a European place. I know we've done it before, but the players we've added now make me think we could do it on a consistent basis. Thiago Almada was the first one. The Argentinian 28-year-old is in his prime. He's left PSG. We've stolen the player from one side of Paris to join us here at Paris FC, and hopefully he'll be a good signing on a free transfer. We spent 1.7 million on Chilean new-gen Alberto Quiros here, a very good passer of the ball who can play midfield and attacking midfield, and I'm hoping he can be a real gem for the price we paid for him. Pierre Ekwa is a 27-year-old French midfielder who can play a bit deeper as well, formerly of Chelsea, then West Ham, then Sunderland, where he played consistently in the Championship, and now we've got him on a free. Lassana Koulibaly is a Malian midfielder, adding some depth and some bite into the tackles in there. Jordão Bambo is a legitimate, classed in-game as a wonder kid, 28-year-old Portuguese national who has joined us from Estoril Praia for only 2.2 million, and he's been fantastic out in Portugal. Speaking of new gens, we've also added Fernando Melo, a 20-year-old Uruguayan centre-back who's joined us for 5.25 million. He's someone that I think is going to have great potential in this team. And we've got another labelled in-game as a wonder kid, Sergio, a Brazilian 20-year-old forward with great attributes, probably the most talented player we've had ever at the club, 14.5 million pounds from Benfica. It's a lot of money. It was most of what we made from our sales, but I feel like he could be a real gem. And now this team is looking very talented. We have loaned out shoestring for the season. I just didn't really see a place for him too much anymore, and there wasn't really any option to sell him, so I'm loaning him out to keep his stock high and then eventually sell him on in the future. In terms of the season preview, they've got us predicted in 10th place, 200 to 1 odds of winning the title. That's the best we've had yet. Let's see what we can do, and I think this is our 7th season. I'm losing count now. I have set a cap at 10, so if we don't do it by 10 years, this video will still go out, but hopefully we can do it because I don't want the heartbreak of going through 10 seasons just not to beat them. And with no European football, we had a much better season, and after 7 years of trying, 7 years of improving this team and hard work, we managed to actually give PSG a competitive match. Despite losing to them at home, Almada slotted away a penalty in the 5th minute to send the fans wild, and then in the 16th minute, he got the opportunity again from the spot, went from the other corner, ice cool, and he made it 2-0. And at that point, we were on cloud 9. It felt like it was really going to go well for us. It didn't last too long though, PSG getting down the left-hand side through Mbappe, finding Xavi Simons, who powered it past Etienne Green. But we didn't give up, we kept going, and in the 51st minute, Van Shaw played through Bambo, Sergio went down with an injury, but it confused the PSG defence enough for Almada to slip past and get his hat-trick to make it 3-1 in the 51st minute, and that really gave us a good chance of winning, but in the 65th, PSG went forward, we tried to clear a corner, it came out to Nuno Mendes, he managed to play it to Ferran Torres, who put it away to make it 3-2. At this point, it got pretty nervy, and then doing what PSG do, they went forward again in the 67th, Kolo Muani played it across to Mbappe, and Mbappe does what Mbappe does, scored the goal, 3-3, and all hopes of winning were lost. At least until the 76th minute, when Calafiori got his foot on the ball on the left-hand side, found Ekwa, and we managed a nice bit of build-up play to find Masenjo, who hit a brilliant strike, made it 4-3, all of our hard work paid off, and we got a win against the French Giants. And there was lots of great results along the way, getting to the quarter-final of the Coupe de France, which by the way, we've been awful in over the course of this rebuild. We finished in 6th, that's a Europa League place, 58 points, 18 wins, quite a few points away from Lyon, and Marseille weren't too far behind us, but we were pretty solidly in a European spot, and actually PSG lost 5 games this year, one of which was to us, so they're starting to lose lose a little bit of their might, it seems, and we're starting to begin to close that gap. But with only 3 years until we call quits on this rebuild, we need to start acting quick. But that isn't made easy when your board give you £1.6 million to spend and 20 grand of wage budget. Everything we're doing for this club, we're not really getting too much to spend. That being said, a lot of the money is going into the facilities and the recruitment, which will hopefully keep Paris FC at a good level for longer. That way, even if we do turn into a poor team eventually, they'll still have the infrastructure to get back up to the top once more. But with that being said, we're going to try and spend that million, do what we can with it. Let's see what we can do in the season 8 transfer window now. Once again, we had to sell to buy and we operated at a transfer net profit again. Leonardo Campana has left us after some good years at the club. He's gone to Brentford for 8 million. He was very good last season, a very consistent striker, so thank you for your service, Leonardo. Han-Noah Masenjo, after scoring that brilliant winner against PSG, has moved to Lorient, where he's going to be an important player. He didn't start as many games as he would have liked for his last year, so we decided to let him go. He wanted to leave, but we got 7 mil, which is a good bit of business. Angel Alarcon was also upset with his game time. He's now gone to Sevilla, where he's going to be a regular starter for £6 million. That shows you, by the way, where we're at, that a player that isn't good enough to start for us is going to be a regular starter at one of Spain's biggest clubs. Yari Vestjeren has managed to move on. He's gone to Sporting Club de Portugal for a fee of £6 million. Did really well for us in his years here after signing as a free agent. Ended up getting us £6 million in a transfer as well, so good luck to him in what he does out in Portugal. We've also quickly moved on Alberto Quiroz here. He has gone to join Chilean side Hachi Pato. We pretty much made double on what we originally signed him for, which isn't too bad considering he was pretty awful for us. And our goalkeeper has also moved on. Etienne Green has joined Wolves, who are a team at this point in the Premier League, and he's going to be an important player for them, so good luck to the Englishman. He's 30 years of age now, getting into the prime of his career as a goalkeeper, but we've signed someone far better. All credit has to go to our scouts on this one, but they found an 18-year-old Hungarian international keeper with 21 games under his belt for his national side, valued at £100 million. How much did we pay for him? £3 million from the Hungarian divisions. Puskás Academia have produced a gem for us here, and he is now going to be probably our best player for the next 10 or 15 years. He is that good. We also bought in Polish international Kasper Kozlowski on a free transfer from Brighton, and Austrian Moritz Oswald is adding to our midfield depth. He's joined us on a free from Rapid Vienna. Modibo Kamara has joined us for just over £1 million or so. He's a Malian 22-year-old joining us from Rennes. He's got good ability, good potential. He's just going to be a depth option. Mikey De La Cruz is an Ecuadorian international left-back, 25 years of age, offers us some depth for about £1 million. Carl Martinson is a Swedish international 19-year-old right-back who's going to be a backup for 1.8 million, but might grow into a regular starter in some time. But we have a real talent on our hands on the left-hand side of the pitch. Raul Rodrigo Milero, a 20-year-old Mexican player. He joins us from Club America for 9.5 million. He's been fantastic over there and looks like he's got the attributes to be fantastic for us as well. And our team is now stacked with talent across the board, lots of potential as well, mixed with some experience too. We've got a good mix of young and old in this team. And now if we have a look at the season preview, we actually have a goalkeeper in the best 11 of the whole league. So our keeper is considered better than the likes of Donnarumma, and he's only 18 years of age, which is awesome. We're predicted 9th as well, 150 to 1 odds of winning the title. Financially, we've got £4 million in the balance, not too much in the debts and loans. The club is working at a very stable rate, and now in season 8, we're going in to a Europa League campaign. We're also trying to win Ligue 1. There's a lot going on. We'll see what we can do this year. Now, our signings this season were great, and that was proved by the fact that we went on a brilliant Europa League run, knocking out the likes of Hoffenheim, Genk, and even Manchester United, ending up in a Europa League final where we played Valencia. And in the 50th minute, Ekwa went forward to Oswald with a brilliant long-range strike to put us 1-0 up in a European final. Not even the Conference League, this was the Europa League. And then Ekwa played a cheeky free kick into Kozlowski only a few minutes later to dampen Valencia's chances, make it 2-1. They did go forward and score a goal from a corner, which just went over the head of Kovac, but it did not matter. We ended up winning 2-1. We won the Europa League. We added our first bit of silverware to the cabinet, but that wasn't the only trophy we were going for this year, because we also went on a run in the Coupe de France, and after beating Marseille in penalties in the semi-final, we faced our Paris rivals PSG in the final, and Milero put us 1-0 up in the 24th minute, and we rode that scoreline all the way through the game until the 90th minute when they went forward forward, found Ruben Neves, and of course, there's only one man that's going to score against you, isn't there? Kylian Mbappe made it 1-1 in the 90th minute. Now granted, we played most of this game against 10 men, but it did go to a penalty shootout where we had a chance to upset our rivals. Kovac, a brilliant goalkeeper, made a few saves throughout, and it was Abakar Silla, our 20 leadership player, who stepped up with the final penalty, put it past Donnarumma. We beat PSG to the Coupe de France, not only beating a rival, but winning the trophy for the first time in the club's history. So that was 2 pieces of silverware in this season, which shows the progress that we're making. And if that wasn't enough, we qualified for the Champions League anyway in the league, finishing in 2nd place. 7 losses and 6 draws, 69 points. PSG ahead of us on 86 points. PSG drew against us this year in the home tie and lost against us away 2-0, which shows we're able to compete with the best side in the land. They didn't manage to get any wins against us this season, so we are working towards some kind of progress. The club now has a 4-star reputation. We've got great facilities and we're in the process of building a brand new stadium, which will hopefully come through soon with a 27,000 capacity. The Mexican left-sided player Molero was absolutely fantastic. Vantior was great, as was Almada. Sergio got 24 goals. The only complaint I'd have with him though is that he actually decided to miss the Coupe de France final because he was absent from training. He was upset that he didn't get a new contract. Now that's unprofessional anyway, but to do it on the day of a cup final was extremely unprofessional. But that being said, he's a pretty good player, so I'm probably still going to give him the contract. And after winning a Europa League, the Coupe de France, getting a Champions League spot and bringing this club up, the board have given us a massive transfer budget, or at least in my dreams they did, because they gave us £9 million. They really aren't trying. I mean, 9 million is nice, but to have gone 8 seasons, 9 seasons even, I think it's going to be now, with a club and not had a transfer budget bigger of 9 million, that's crazy. Something I should mention is Calafiori actually left us last season. He complained about game time, so he moved on for a pretty big fee of about 15 million. And we also let Mikey de la Cruz leave the club for about £1 million, never really turned into anything for us. And I decided to be pretty light on the incomings. I felt with our young squad that they just needed the chance to kick on playing together and developing. They're all great players with lots of potential, so we didn't need to replace them yet. Coming in though was Martin Pascual, a 32-year-old centre-back to add some experience to the backline. Also joining on a free transfer was Swedish 32-year-old defender Isaac Hine, and also Owen Beck, who becomes our new left-back. The former Liverpool player moved to Ipswich Town in this save, did fantastic for them, and I mean fantastic in the Championship, and he's going to be a phenomenal player for us, I'm sure. And then we signed this new gen, Johnny Acanas, valued at 40 million, a Colombian 21-year-old international, a great passing midfielder. How much did he cost us? 1.7 million. A great bit of business from us there. If we have a look now at our team, we've got so many players valued at high amounts. All of these guys are 20, 30, 40, 50 million pound plus players, and that's crazy considering a few years ago we had a team that was worth literally nothing. But now we go into our first year in the Champions League, 2 years left to try and beat PSG. We've got a 6th place prediction, 50-1 odds of winning the title. We've still got a very good squad and we're continuing to get better. So fingers crossed we can give the Champions League a good go, hopefully pick up another Coupe de France along the way and try and push PSG in the league as much as possible. Now, in Season 9, we lost the Trophée des Champions against PSG. We also lost the Super Cup against Liverpool, so that was a rough start to the season. And despite winning it last year, Marseille won the French Cup this season, and if we have a look, we actually went out in the 9th round to Strasbourg, which is very disappointing. And in the Champions League, we did pretty well. In the league phase, we managed to qualify for the playoff round. In the playoff round, we faced off against fellow French side Lens and managed to beat them 7-5 on aggregate. Then we faced AC Milan in a round of 16, drew 3-3 in the home tie, went to the San Siro in the hopes of beating them and making a quarter-final. But we actually lost 8-0, lost 11-3 on aggregate. It was a terrible, terrible performance from us. And Milan can't have even been that good because a few rounds later, they got beat 7-3 on aggregate by Arsenal. So in the Cups, we had a pretty torrid time, but that didn't mean we weren't doing well in the league, because we were. We were winning lots of games. We managed to keep up with PSG pretty much all the way. With 2 games to go, neck and neck in the league, we faced off against them. And PSG got an early goal through Ferran Torres, made it 1-0. And at that point, it looked unlikely that we were going to win the league. By winning this, PSG would go above us, but then in the 46th minute, the Paris FC fans got behind us. We managed to get the ball on the right-hand side of the pitch, found Molero, who volleyed it in past Donnarumma to make it 1-1, and in the second half, we just kept pushing. I don't know what team talk the assistant manager gave, but in the 55th minute, only a few minutes later, we could see PSG were rattled. Vantior found Canas, who found Bambo, and a deflected shot went in to make it 2-1. And if we won this, we just needed to win one more game to win the title. In the 67th minute, when PSG thought they might be able to get back into the match, Beck picked the ball up at the left back spot, played a cross in, and the Brazilian Venture got to the header, put it into the back of the net, and we beat them 3-1, meaning we needed to win our last game of the season to win the title. Now, whilst PSG got an easy matchup, we had to face off against third place Rennes, who weren't in a title charge, but were still a very good side. Despite that, Oswald managed to put us 1-0 up after 30 seconds to really kill off any nerves that we might have had, and from there, we just kicked on. In the 13th minute, Sergio went forward with the ball, found Vanture in the right wing spot, he cut in, got forward and managed to score a bit of a scuff shot past the goalkeeper to make it 2-0, and we just kept going and going. In the 50th minute, Beck picked the ball up in the left back spot and a throw-in routine ended up coming all the way out, and it looked like this was worked on in the training ground. Kozlowski found Vanture, what a move that was, 3-0 on the night, and then Canos came forward, our new signing this season, found Kozlowski to Sergio, who managed to score a lot of goals this season, but that was probably one of the more important ones. He made it 4-0 and we were out of sight. We went on to win the game 4-1, and that meant we won the title. 4 goal difference less than PSG, but 2 points more than them. We only lost one time all year in an away match to Toulouse. We did draw 8 games, including PSG at home, but they lost 3 times this season, which really hurt them. 6 draws as well, some against teams they really wouldn't have wanted to draw against. We've managed to improve the club's facilities as well to an extremely high level. As mentioned, there's also a new stadium in the works, and we are going down as the biggest icon in the club's history. If we stay for another few seasons, we'll be a legend, and likely the stadium will be named after us. So we took over Paris FC when they were a club with no real trophies to their name. We won Ligue 2, we won Ligue 1, we also won the Europa League and the Coupe de France. We did a brilliant job, we toppled PSG, and that was probably my hardest rebuild ever.